What I thought I would do today to start with is share with you guys three specific ways that, as I started to kind of apply the things that we talked about these past few weeks, how it helped me on my journey. And maybe like sharing that will help it to kind of all come together. So, for example, when it comes to our inner dialogue, the reality is that none of us chose. We didn't choose it. Like when you think about your inner critic, I'm 150% positive that you're not like, yes, I love talking to myself this way. No, we didn't choose it. It's because of what we lived. So it came outside of self, right? We did nothing to make it so ingrained. However, the part that sucks is that even if the narcissist is gone, the upgrading or changing of your inner dialogue doesn't happen like that. Now we have to do something. And it's kind of the frustrating part. I know it was with me. It was like, okay, I did all this work to finally separate from toxic people. And it's like it was still controlling me. And one of the ways was through my inner dialogue. One of the things that I started to do that was helpful for those that have been in Thrivers, you guys know that I've shared, like one of the things I developed because of narcissistic abuse was social anxiety. I didn't have it prior to a long-term relationship, but I sure had it after, actually during. And then it was just like the person was gone and I'm like, what's going on? Why am I still in this? And what I realized when I started to kind of make my unconscious behaviors and thoughts more conscious, what I realized was after every event, my brain would do what the narcissist did with me, pick apart everything I did wrong, said wrong, breathed wrong. And I was like, you did this and you're stupid and you did beating myself. The person wasn't even there anymore, but my inner dialogue just picked up right where they left off. What I started out doing to change that was I realized that it kicked on. It was like a trauma loop. I would go out, I would come back in a shame loop, beating myself. I would go out again. And it was the same thing happening over and over. I was like, okay, the next time I go out, the next time I'm around people, no matter what, I'm going to look for 1 second, 5 seconds of noticing that I'm just being me and liking me for me, no matter how others were. 5 seconds. Now, last week, some of you guys mentioned that we gaslight ourselves, right? Well, I would notice those 5 seconds and this other 95% of my brain would go, oh, yeah, but you said this and you did this and you talked too loud, you talked too much and da 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 da. They're judging you, right? Here I am trying to change it, but the old program would kick on. And I would have to be like, yep, that did happen. Yep, you can think that. And for those 5 seconds, I was me and it felt good. The brain's so biased to the negative, it just wants to stare at the bad. Oh, you said this, you did this, and you laughed, and it wasn't funny, and all these reasons. And I had to be like, yep, I did. And I was me at that moment. And it felt darn good. That 10 seconds turned to 1 minute. The 1 minute turned to 5 minutes. And then what happened was I would go out in social situations and the negative was getting more and more quiet and the new was building. And it wasn't just a dialogue. It was turning off an old belief and turning on a new one. So part of the reasons why we beat ourselves and why the narcissist beats up on their targets, they want you to think that there's something wrong with you, that you're not accepted, you're not enough. And so when we're beating ourselves, it's the dialogue that keeps that belief alive. And so when I started changing it and looking at that little piece, that little minute where I was me and I was enough and I mattered and I loved myself, it was a whole nother belief system that I was turning on. It was weak and it was low. But the more often I did it, just like working out, I start with these light weights, the stronger it got. So it was one of the ways where working with my inner dialogue started helping me to break out of some of the things that narcissistic abuse keeps us stuck in. And so I say that because as we learned this information this month, being specific, like pausing and being like, okay, where in my life is there a dialogue or a pattern of belief about myself that keeps alive something that I don't want alive, that I never chose in the first place? It was something I lived because of how somebody else was. If we're not specific enough, it's harder to start making the change. So again, like I said, it was like I realized Once I was out of that social situation, that was the moment I was going to listen to how I was talking and change it. That was one way.